I couldn't really let all the work go into this run go to waste, so I figured I might as well show what I've done so far. Completed isn't quite correct, so ignore all the word you just saw on the screen. This is a playthrough of Spongebob Battle for Bikini Bottom that I attempt to do entirely using only Spongebob. The deeper implication of this is that I can't fight Robot Patrick or Robot Sandy, meaning I'll be doing this entirely without the Cruise Bubble or Bubble Bowl. That also means I'm going to have to skip those two fights, which is possible, and that's what this part's going to be about. We're going to be starting off doing everything we can in Bikini Bottom here. And I am going to show off absolutely everything I can do that I'm capable of doing, including things that won't actually get me a spatula. For example, I'm going to get a couple extra socks that I can pick up just to show, except the fact that they're not going to get me a spatula because I would need to pick up a couple more to get a spatula. The idea here is that I tried to pick together this run 3 years ago with a bunch of tricks found by Co-Ud, and with some help from him as well. I'll mention that when it comes up. But as it is, I just never managed to complete it after many hours of work. So I figured I would just show you guys what I had put together because I didn't want all that to go to waste. And I want to play this game a bit more anyhow. So that being said, I need to be transparent about some of these things. For one, I will, to show that this is all possible without any kind of fancy illegitimacy, I'm going to be showing the entirety of this game in essentially a single run-through. There's not any time off-screen in between these episodes or anything like that. These will be broken into parts by area. This is the Bikini Bottom portion, where we, for now, we're around Powerups' house, and then we'll do a few things later on. I'll explain the nature of what we're doing when we get to that. Number 2, this is run on an emulator, but everything here is done, or is possible on console. I've done most of these tricks on console myself, actually. I began routing out this run on console, and I've been able to pull off most of these tricks without any problem. Regardless, I did record this run with save states, just because many of the tricks are very difficult to pull off regardless, and my skill in pulling this off isn't the point, it's just showing what you can and cannot do. For similar purposes, and to reduce lag in the final recording, because this is emulated and this game doesn't always emulate well, I did also record this at 50% speed and then sped up the final footage.
There's nothing like the sounds of your own neighborhood.
Not too obvious though, I don't think. So, that had me accomplished, rather pointed out. I'm going to be moving on to my first glitch, I believe, rather soon. As I mentioned, you're going to have to skip the 2 major boss fights, but those are how we get to other parts of Bikini Bottom and thus progress in the game. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to skip those parts using a particular glitch. They can only be activated once in the game. It's done in Jellyfish Fields. And then from there I'm going to set up warp points, taxi warp points that can be used in the pause menu to navigate through Bikini Bottom. And I'm going to have to be very careful about which warp points I use throughout different parts of the game, because certain taxi warps will actually force you to play as a particular character. For example, as Sandy or Patrick. And I do not want to at any point play as Spongebob or Sandy this entire playthrough. Socks and golden and shiny objects that we get from, rather that we give to Patrick and Mr. Krabs, who we'll worry about much later, at least in the case of shiny socks. Shiny objects I won't have to turn all in order to progress in the game because I don't have enough golden spatulas, but socks I'll see up until the very end of the playthrough. For now, we're still doing things that are mostly just normal to do. The start of this playthrough is a little bland because for the most part we're doing things the game expects us to do, because we don't actually have any necessity of trying to get around the fact that we don't have abilities we're expected to have, because at this point we're still not expected to have the Bubble Bowl or Cruise Bubble. So it's once we get to other parts where we are excited to play as Patrick or Sandy that things start getting interesting.
Hey Patrick, nice sock.
Yoink, sock. Right now I'm just taking care of everything that we can do in the first third of Bikini Bottom, which is actually a little bit more than I expected it to be. It takes about 5 minutes. Now I believe once we pick up this sock, and for some reason I want a shiny object, then we should be good. From there, I'm going to do a peculiar glitch, and it's not quite obvious what's going on if you're not sure what it is, so I'll try to explain it briefly. For whatever reason, you can get dragged out of bounds, and then you can actually activate the taxi. You can call the taxi while Hans is dragging you off screen, as you can see right here. I step just slightly out of bounds. Hans grabs me, I mash the A button, and then I call the taxi. I still respawn, but if I do this a second time, something weird happens. I'm not quite sure why this is the case. I get different results the second time around. If I do it a second time, I actually end up warping, as you can see here, to Jellyfish Fields. Now, what's notable about this is that this actually disables Hans in almost all situations, and it disables him permanently until you restart the game. So now I can jump out of bounds and anything of that sort for the most part. If I fall into a bottomless pit, I will simply fall forever, for example. And this can let me access many places I'm not supposed to go to, and this will be the crux of many things in this. This part, I simply decided to not speed up because I thought it was entertaining out of slow motion. This is a taste of what it's like for me playing the game as I actually record it. I get to listen to things like this. I feel that one of the greatest talents of Squidward's voice actor is screaming. I felt we need to showcase that and give some time to appreciate it. That having been said, so as this video title points out, we are actually going to spend most of our time in Bikini Bottom this episode, but there's a quick glitch I need to do here in Jellyfish Fields. Thankfully, it's at the very beginning of this level, so I'm not going to worry too much about running around and doing anything here. I'm going to pick up a single sock here in Jellyfish Fields, but that's not going to be of any concern. We'll do a bunch of Jellyfish Field things in the next episode.
Oh my gosh, you're bald!
For now, all I need to do is, aside from signing to open a box, I suppose. I never use that box, so I don't know why I worry about it. We're going to run off over to a cave where, one, there's a sock, just immediately, but two, there's actually something else that's of interest to us. There's another glitch you can activate there. See, a problem right now with this Hans disabling glitch I'm using right now is, if I run off into areas that are marked off with red lines, Hans will actually still take me. I can't walk, for example, out of bounds in Bikini Bottom because Hans will still take me, despite being disabled in most ways. So what I can do here is I can jump down, pick up the spatula, and Hans will take me because I disabled him for those kinds of out of bounds boundaries. And it causes this odd saving glitch, where it says now saving, and this will last only until I restart the game or I collect another golden spatula. Thankfully, the only time I need to use this glitch is right here. Now I can actually walk across here into the forever, essentially. Now, I initially forget, actually, how to get to the next part of Bikini Bottom, because there are actually invisible walls all over Bikini Bottom, despite the fact that you can't actually get around here. And I forget the fact that you also happen to fall through the road right there. So, let's take another shot at that. Unfortunately, this part's a little bit slow, so I'm going to have more stuff to talk about. So now we went all the way across, and it turns out the invisible wall here is actually quite long and large. You're going to have to run all the way around through downtown, and then we'll run off to do what we need to do off in the second area. The third area, unfortunately, is going to be a little bit trickier. The third area is completely encapsulated in invisible walls. You can't actually use this particular expert I'm using right now. It's a Spongebob-sized door. It's nice. To get to the third area, instead we're going to have to do something a little different, a little bit more creative. But we can worry about that once we get to it. For now, I'm going to talk a little bit more about how the game actually uses a particular type of, rather, I suppose, how I use this Hans glitch that I used with the taxi glitch. Specifically, the glitch that is going to stay enabled after we pick up our next spatula. Because once we pick up our next spatula, we're not going to be able to walk out here anymore. However, there are very few places like this in the game that we would ever want to walk into in the first place. So we're going to have lots of situations where we jump out of bounds, for example, jumping into a pit where the game expects us to not be able to go. For example, if there's a bungee jump the game wants us to do, just like I did in Jellyfish Fields, we'll jump through that boundary to simply pick up the spatula to save time, and in that particular case in Jellyfish Fields it enables this glitch, although I don't know any other cases where we can do this glitch. So it's a one-time per save file issue. This glitch also doesn't work, interestingly enough, if you don't actually have a save file selected. If you don't have a memory card inserted or anything like that, this glitch does not work. The game has to actually think it's saving for this to work. It will also allow us to play around a little bit with the level geometry, because for some reason most things in this game are solid. And everything solid in this game is solid two ways. There are no one-way walls in this game, much to my chagrin. which means it's very, very difficult to clip into things you're not supposed to be able to clip into. There are really only one way to do it, at least one way that I can do it in this playthrough. There's a second way you can do it with something called cruise boosting, but I'm not going to get into that because I can't do that. Because that uses both cruise bubble and bubble, and that's... Not using that is essentially the point of this playthrough, aside from only being Spongebob. So you'll also find lots of issues where, because this game doesn't treat walls and floors as separate entities, I can oftentimes stand on things that are supposed to be walls. At a later point in this playthrough, I start deciding that since I'm playing this game in slow motion and I have save states, I can actually get really fancy with the combat and show off a little bit and set off nice combos of attacking enemies and the like and knocking them into each other. In this particular fight, I don't really do that, so it gets a little unentertaining. But we actually get to see some of your enemies at the very least. Things will get a little bit more interesting once you get to the fight with Krusty Krab, because then we'll actually have much more difficult enemies to deal with. Primarily enemies that expect us to have range attacks, where we don't have range attacks, and that'll be problematic to deal with. I have to come up with interesting ways to deal with those in every specific situation, and that's something that I really deal with in this spot. In any case. So now, even by coming into this tree dome, let alone by picking up the spatula, we actually now have a way to warp to the second part of Bikini Bottom through the pause menu. I'm going to be doing that a few times during this playthrough, in fact. Having picked up that spatula, save game glitch is also now disabled, so now we can no longer walk around the perimeter of Bikini Bottom. That's not a problem, however, because, as mentioned before, that won't actually help us get to the third area. Instead, to get to the third area, we're going to do something a little bit different, but first we have some stuff to do over here as well. We have a sock to pick up here in Shady Shoals, as well as some dialogue to skip through for when we return here later so we can go into the Mermaid later.
Hit me with a water ball. Hit me, hit me, hit me.
For some reason or another, it seems that there is a glitch in this particular level actually. If you destroy... I think it's if you destroy the wooden chair with the boom tiki or with the thunder tiki, instead of destroying it yourself with your bubble wand, the game won't actually register and won't give you the sock. I found a couple bugs just in the recording of this. I didn't actually have any kind of records of how my route went through in this playthrough, aside from a spreadsheet saying which particular spatulas I could and couldn't get and how many socks I could get. So there are a few modifications that happened in the 3 years between now and back when I first made this playthrough. Most notably, I actually get a couple more socks now in this playthrough I got in the last playthrough, but not any more spatulas, unfortunately. But we do get very, very close to actually able to enter the Chumbucket Lab. And I will point out now, actually also include a video showing how I would complete the final boss if I was able to get enough spatulas to get there. The idea is essentially if anybody ever wants to continue this route themselves, they can do so, if they want to put in some work to try and make it all work out. So here you get to see the wonderful, wonderful Spongeball. It's a little weird to play as, but it actually is great for sequence breaking in this game. In this particular case, lets us do some fun, odd things. For example, lets us jump up here, and if we wanted that golden underwear, we could take it, but I decided not to take it, because at no point in this playthrough do we actually need more than 3 underwear. And that lets us jump just barely over the border into the third area. So now we just head into the jump bucket, and we can pick up one more spatula, and we'll be able to teleport here whenever we want. Now, for some reason, activate this television right here now, but then when I come back here much later after I get all the spatulas I'm capable of picking up, it actually pops up again, which is a little odd. I don't know what causes that to happen. I don't really know what triggers cause this to reset, if it would ever reset. I don't know why it would, but I'll probably muse about that again once we come over here much later. 11 parts from now, I believe. 10 or 11. In any case, while jumping the bucket is just as it always was. The interesting parts come in when we need to deal with the infestation of the Krusty Krab, and more so when we need to get on top of the chum bucket. When we get to the top of the chum bucket, we run into a particular issue. We're going to see how, in this game, sometimes there are buttons that can only be pressed by certain types of attacks. In this particular case, the buttons along the side of the chum bucket can only be pressed by the cruise bubble. Even if you get other things to touch it, it won't work.
What's wrong, Mr. Krabs?
Also, the triggers for talking to different characters are still here, even though the characters aren't here. So I'll accidentally activate them every now and then. And then people will suddenly appear out of thin air. Thankfully, sometimes aren't actually as annoying to deal with as you would think, despite the fact that I don't have any kind of ranged attack. Aside from the fact that you can still sneak up on them slowly, which I actually end up deciding to do right here. A lot of the time you can actually just get the jump on them by jumping to them from above, or doing something similar by climbing up next to them or what have you. Of course, there is also a dual purpose to being here in the Krusty Krab. Not only do we get to destroy the robots and get a golden spatula, we can also destroy everything else, and that will end up giving us another sock. It is fortunately possible every single sock here in Bikini Bottom. Some levels are a bit more friendly to a Spongebob that doesn't have the bubble or cruise bubble than others. The only special I haven't managed to actually get here in Bikini Bottom is on top of Shady Shoals. Shady Shoals, the building itself is a very rare type of geometry in this game that can't be stood on no matter what angle it's at. That appears very, very rarely, which is very good for me because it means I can oftentimes stand on walls and jump across them to sequence break. At Shady Shoals, the only way I've been able to find that allows me to get on top of it is to, one, go up the intended way, which requires the bubble bowl, because you can't press the button unless you use the bubble bowl. Once again, that issue of not being able to press certain buttons with certain kinds of attacks. Or, additionally, if you press the buttons on the side of the chum bucket, you can make that springboard appear that normally brings you to the top of the chum bucket. Now, if you use something called Spongebob storage that I'll show later in Downtown Bikini Bottom, you can actually use the bounce from that particular springboard to go onto the top of Shady Shoals, because it gives you enough height. Problem being twofold. One, I can't make that actual springboard appear because I don't have the cruise bubble. Since I can't press those buttons, the springboard will not appear. Two, even if I could do that, I would need to be able to get from here into the second area, next to Shady Shoals, in Spongebob form, which, as far as I know, isn't possible because I have the wall. I also accidentally talked to the Bubble Bunny, just like I did Mr. Krabs.
Silver pinky shake on it?
Sadly or otherwise, this will be the last we see of Bubble Bunny and Mr. Krabs in this particular area. From now on, they're only ever going to appear in the first area of the game. But back onto fun Spongebob shenanigans. Things like this are why I'm always very happy to see Spongebob appears in a particular area. Spongebob storage is a wonderful thing of itself that we will explore a little bit later on. But we can also do crazy things like this. This is another little sequence break found by Cole Udd. And it's a little crazy in its presentation, but I love how you can do it. Notice how even though I'm actually hitting those buttons with the bubble on, unintentionally mind you, it's not actually pressing them. Which is why I can't actually do anything to make the springboard appear. Now, we'll have a little bit more fun with sequence breaking, where we actually skip things that we're supposed to be playing as Patrick during, trying to get through things that are intended for Patrick in the next episode when we go through Jellyfish Fields, so look forward to that as well.